Beyblade has always had a strong sense of competition, from the plastic generation all the way to Beyblade Burst. Combo building and deck strategy has been at the forefront of the game. Now, with Beyblade's new generation, Beyblade X, combo building is more important than ever before. It may be surprising, but Beyblade has a huge competitive scene, with a really in-depth meta, especially as of recent. With so many new releases, and a brand new Beyblade system, CX, now becoming meta-relevant, the sky is the limit for what kind of combos people can make. But now that you've been briefed about competitive Beyblade, it's time for you to learn how to make the ultimate Beyblade combos and decks to succeed in whatever Beyblade tournaments you go to. But before we get straight into the combos, make sure to subscribe and like the video if you haven't already. We just hit 9,000 subscribers, you guys, and we are getting so close to 10,000. All of the support means the world to me, and thank you so much for supporting me on this journey. So, with all of that out of the way, let's dive into the different Beyblade archetypes you need to create a Beyblade deck, with the first archetype being the balance type deck, which is arguably the most popular deck in Beyblade X at this point. It's a typical deck that has one attack type, one balance type, and one defense type. The current meta favors attack type customizations, so leaning more into what counters attacks and using attacks to your advantage is the best way to go about this deck. The best meta deck is actually following this archetype currently with Shark Scale, 360 Low Rush, Hover Wyvern on 960 Kick, and Wizard Rod on 160 Hexa. However, if you don't want to go full top tier meta, I would recommend using bays like Tyranno Beat on 170 Rush, Silver Wolf on 960 Hexa or Underneedle, and Pegasus Blast Wheel on 970 or 360 Kick. This deck is going to be able to take you a really long way and up your chances at being super consistent at the game of Beyblade. I mean, there's one reason why this deck is ranked so high in usage. It's just the most consistent one you can make. It's also really important to note that this Beyblade archetype follows the Beyblade type triangle to a T. I also want to mention that when you're making your Beyblade X deck, you gotta keep the meta in mind to a degree. Just because blades like Shark Scale, Hover Wyvern, Arrow Pegasus, Wizard Rod, Silver Wolf, Phoenix Wing, and even more other Beyblades, because there is a lot of bays that are considered meta in the game. It's really hard sometimes to keep track, but there are a lot of great Beyblades that people use, and keeping in mind what people use is one of the best ways to build a deck, because you want to make sure that you have all of the options to counter what people will be using in competition. This is especially true if you have a very active Beyblade X scene. You're gonna be noticing that a lot of people run very similar combos, very different combos from each other. There's gonna be a lot of variety, or there's gonna be a lot of people running similar things to make them the top players in your scene. For example, a lot of players in the Southern California, Los Angeles scene use blades like Wizard Rod on attack bits, either on low rush, rush, or even level and Hexa. Well, Hexa is a balance type bit, but still. Or they still use stamina types like Wizard Rod Freeball, or Hover Wyvern and Shark Scale. I think those three Beyblades actually are going to be majority of what you see a lot of the top players using, just because they are considered the very, very top of the meta, and those three blades are just the most consistent out of all of Beyblade X. And I mean, it's the reason why those three Beyblades make up one of the most common Beyblade X deck archetypes. But for the next archetype we're going to be talking about leans more into the attack dominant side of Beyblade, which attack types right now in Beyblade X are just at their peak. They're the best they've ever been. However, there are quite a few different ways to play your attack types. For one example, a good all-out Beyblade X attack type deck would look something like this: Hover Wyvern, Shark Scale, and Arrow Pegasus, or Phoenix Wing if you don't have Arrow. The reason this is such a top tier attack type deck is because it focuses on different levels of attacks. with Wyvern focusing on critical attacks, Shark Scale focusing on upper and down smash attacks, and Arrow Pegasus and Phoenix Wing focusing on smash attacks. If you'd want to run this deck, I would recommend putting Hover Wyvern on 960 kick or rush, Shark Scale on 170 or 360 low rush, and Arrow Pegasus on 160 rush or 760 level. If you have Phoenix Wing, I would recommend 360 low rush or 760 rush. There are of course more attack blades to choose from, but these specific ones are the upper echelons of attack in Beyblade X. I'll also be able to focus on the attack type in general when I cover my attack type mastery video in the future, which if you guys want to check that one out, it'll be linked on the corner here once it's out. But now we gotta move into the third Beyblade X deck archetype, which is triple stamina. Nowadays, I would consider it to be a risky type of deck. However, if you have mastery over stamina types, you will be able to use this deck pretty efficiently. Triple stamina is basically what it sounds like, and I would say the most meta stamina deck would look something like Silver Wolf on 960 ball or free ball, Wizard Rod on 160 free ball or Hexa, and Clock Mirage on 455 low orb. Stamina types may not be at their highest point like when Wizard Rod initially released, but this archetype is still meta relevant for skilled stamina users. In order to make the best deck so far, it definitely seems like you need a ton of parts to really take skill to a higher level. Thankfully, the sponsor of today's video got you covered. Baylocker, your one-stop part shop where you can fulfill your Beyblade X competitive needs. If you use code JacobPom, you can also get 8% off your order to help out with getting easier access to competitive combos. The shop also has pre-made competitive builds and YouTuber recommended builds like my Hover Wyvern build that I've been yapping about lately, Hover Wyvern 960 kick. The link to all this will be in the comments below, so definitely check them out, especially because our last archetype requires a lot of parts to complete. This deck I would consider the ultimate coverage archetype, which includes one attack type, one defense type or balance type, and one stamina type. In my opinion, this is one of the most consistent archetypes in the game if used correctly. It can counter so many decks previously listed as well. In order to hone in the best way to construct this deck though, I would say to focus your attack types on whatever mode of attack you specialize in. However, your defensive combo or balance type combo should have the intention of parrying attacks while also having a high end game of stamina. Also, making your stamina type of choice have the most staying power in the stadium as possible. If you don't know what staying power is, it basically means how long a Beyblade can max out its time in the stadium. The top tier meta deck that could coincide with each category would be something like Shark Scale on 170, 360, or 770 low rush as your attack type combo of choice, as it matches out smash and upper attacks greatly with amazing stamina to boot. For our defense or balance combo, I would say that Wizard Rod 160 Hexa is arguably one of, if not the best, balanced defense type combos in the game. If you play it right, you can even out-stamina Wizard Rod on 960 ball. Lastly though, our stamina type Beyblade for this deck would be Silver Wolf or Scorpio Spear on 960 low orb or free ball. I could also see Blast Wheel being the top choice for this as well though, as all of these Beyblades max out their specific typings in the best way possible and give you many options to play around with. Overall, Beyblade X deck building requires a ton of strategy and experience to get the most consistency out of your Beyblades, but it may also take a ton of launch technique and practice to get the most consistent results out of your Beyblades. Regardless though, I hope you were able to learn something from this video, as the Beyblade X meta has evolved into a new kind of beast. Just make sure to keep up the good work you guys, and good luck in your competitive Beyblade X journey, and may the odds ever be in your favor. Just remember to keep on spinning, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. For real, for real.